I'm gonna pull it back now. I'm gonna pull you back into the COVID world once again, and I'm gonna ask you an opinion, right? Because this has been a debate that we've engaged in, and I've engaged with some other people about: is the lockdown necessary? Uh, was it kind of conducted in the right, in the right way, or were we a bit jumpy in the beginning to do the full complete lockdown? And you can see now a lot of countries they're trying to follow like examples like Sweden, which has opened up, or always had a kind of a more of a lax approach to it. So where do you stand on that? Are you a proponent of the lockdown, or are you saying that, listen, people need to get out, the high risk individuals, older people, immune sensitive or deficient, you guys stay home, and everyone else go out and take your chances? Like, where do you stand on that?
So, like your master's in public health, I did one too. My focus was on health policy and health education and promotion. And so, health, well, the public health guidelines are basically, mitigation, suppression, containment are really important. I think that I personally believe that we should be on lockdown, and I don't think it was aggressive enough.
Oh,
Is
wow,
what I
okay.
think.
In the
Yeah,
US, I
I don't.
think so, right? Like, here in Dubai, and I've been saying it, in Dubai, we did go quite
Yeah,
aggressive, right? So they did a full lockdown. You needed a permit to go out. There was limitations on the movements, and it seemed to be quite effective. And those are now slowly being lifted, right? But I think in the US, you guys are still kind of free to
yeah,
move, right?
it's just kind of up in the air here. I think the lockdown is, again. This is a medical or a health decision,
Not an
and that's what.
economical decision.
Everyone keeps talking about the economy. Believe me, we're feeling it too. But what's the point of an economy if you don't have people to be there in the economy? If everyone's dead, what does it matter? It doesn't matter at all. You can't spend anyway if people aren't around to be able to spend. So, I use a lot of analogies because I think they make a lot more sense. And it's the same thing. It's like when you go to your doctor and your doctor tells you need to have an operation because you're really sick. You don't argue with him or her. You're like, nah, you know what? As a matter of fact, no. I don't want to do that. We're going to do it this way. It's like, wait a second. So it's the same scenario here. This is a health decision. They're a health expert. They say, hey, look, this is what has to happen. This is what we modeled. We don't know 100%. Nobody knows 100%. But based on all of our collective experience and our collective wisdom
Yeah.
and our education, we believe this is to be the safest thing forward. Now,
You need to. Sorry, I'm gonna interrupt you for a second. You need to stop banging on your table.
oh,
We're
sorry.
sensing all
My
your pressure. We're hearing all this background noise.
bad.
All right.
My
I know it's
bad.
emotional. I know it's emotional for you,
It's
man.
an emotional time. Now,
So tell
I
it, tell
think
it.
you're. Well, I just think I think that's important. That for people to remember that. And I don't think anyone wants this. None of us want this.
Yeah,
It's just what I think is what has to happen. And I think at some point we need to start slowly opening up again. I believe that, of course, we got to get back to normal.
yeah,
So the way it generally works is this: is that you have something that is a problem. You have a cluster, and we call it an epidemic.
yeah,
There's a cluster that goes on. It's an epidemic. If it becomes extremely widespread, very widespread, even on a international or global scale, it becomes a pandemic,
yeah.
and that affects everybody. And then what ends up the next stage after that is you either contain it or deal with it, or if you can't deal with your epidemic that became a pandemic, then the disease or the pathology becomes endemic, which means it's here to stay. Now it's just our job to learn how to deal with it.
Yep.
You got to go about your day and learn how to deal with it. With a lot of chronic diseases that are very prevalent, or other infectious diseases that are relatively prevalent, like HIV/AIDS and so forth. I mean, they're here to stay. We just figure out how to work around them. And I suspect that's what's going to be with this at some point.
I
Interesting.
mean, we talked about that where there is no blueprint for this type of pandemic. I don't think any country or any health system is prepared for it, and I think
No.
from a medical standpoint, we needed this lockdown to figure out what's going on, prepare for extreme cases, anybody in critical care or ICUs or any of the
Yeah, and
ventilators.
to allow the hospitals, some of the hospitals, some of the countries to kind of ramp up and be ready for it
For
and
sure.
have the infrastructure to
Well,
cope with
yeah.
it. Right. I think that was
That's the. I mean, so there was obviously we have it's unprecedented, right? The previous time this something like this was the 1918 flu. What
yeah,
they
the
call the
Spanish flu.
Spanish flu.
Yeah.
Which is a misnomer, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys know that. I mean, it's not actually a Spanish flu per se, but they called it the Spanish flu because it was at the time of World War I or around that time, and in order to keep morale of the country, they were censoring the amount of people that had the flu. And one of the very few places that did not have censorship of the press was Spain. So the numbers in Spain were huge and huge and huge and
So they just
huge.
dumped it
And
on them.
so they called it the Spanish flu, but it wasn't. It was everywhere else. It's just that people, were censoring it because they're like, oh my god, if we know that in the United States or the UK the numbers are so high, everyone's morale is low. What's the point of us dealing with this or that? Everything's so bad. So that's why it got the name the Spanish flu. But it's actually not a Spanish flu at all. But
Okay.
similarly, like the H1N1, the SARS,
Yeah.
CoV-1, the MERS, Middle East respiratory virus, same thing, were similar to this, but this was obviously on a much larger and much more infectious and contagious scale, no doubt.
Well, the thing is, our travel habits from 1920 to now have changed as well, where people are traveling across the globe much faster, um, much more than the usual. So the spreading will be much higher as well.
Right. No, yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, people are in so much more close contact. You can go from one place to the next much quicker. You're right. And that's the problem. That's the whole concept of contact tracing and how to find people that. And that's why putting everybody on lockdown or shutting everything down for a little bit is going to be painful for everybody, no doubt. But hopefully, that way you can help mitigate that. And, we talk about flattening the curve.
Yep.
The goal really is to allow um, us to us when I say in the healthcare, I mean to have enough resources to deal with the
Absolutely.
problem. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? That's the issue. People that get on the vent usually are on the vent for around 3 weeks, 21 days, and that's a long time
It
to
is
be
a
on a
long
vent.
Yeah.
That's a very long time to be on a vent. And so that means that ventilator is now used up for 3 weeks. And so you don't have another ventilator. So you got to wait one guy gets on a vent or one guy or girl gets on a vent. Then you got to wait 3 weeks before that vent's available. And
Wow.
the mortality is high if you're on a vent.
Yeah. Now, are you seeing a lot of younger people? This is a big thing, right? A lot of people have that feeling like, 60 and above, as long as I'm not in that age bracket, I'm cool. Is that
So we haven't seen a lot of younger people per se, but that's not to say that that isn't the case. I mean, I have a lot of colleagues around the country and around the world that see a lot of younger people. But the point is, even though may not get sick, even though you may not get sick, you as any age can be a vector to transmit it.
Yeah.
of course?
That's the problem.
Yeah.
That's the issue. Is it's dealing with. We talk about all these sick people. You talked about the numbers earlier on the media, but the numbers are super high, but they're way higher for the infected and not necessarily the dead. So the point is, there's a high rate. Not everyone gets super sick, but a lot of people have the virus,
Yes.
and so that's the whole point. You can you can continue to transmit this to other people, even if you're asymptomatic or unknowingly, which is a problem.